Well, hello everybody. I hope you're enjoying your day. And this is one of the first presentations in the Dynamic Digi series. What is digital marketing? What is its purpose? Why do we need it? What help can it provide us? And what exactly does it comprise as a set of tools, practices, theories, and applications? So as stated, this is going to be presentations, webinars, books, infographics, and much more stuff just to highlight digital marketing topics for Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean generally. So the purpose of this series is essentially to grow our digital space, to ensure that people have the will, knowledge, and scope to implement digital marketing topics and practices and best practices, and also ensure that we have the supporting infrastructure to do so. So this is in terms of physical links, as in Wi-Fi and general business cultures, as well as wired Ethernet, proper 4G. These obviously would inherently go hand in hand with good digital. So who am I then? Well, I'm a digital marketer. I've been running several private and voluntary projects. As stated, I'm looking to build collective skills and pattern in the country and the region. And I do generally believe that the skills we possess are present. It just more needs to be done via a holistic dialogue and conversation to enhance the scope of digital in the region. And one of the famous quotes by the Mahatma, that is Mohandas Gandhi, of whom we would all know, is be the change you wish to see in the world. So what the Mahatma meant by this is that, well, if you want to see something improve, you have to not so much be a pioneer, but you must be proactive. You must try and encourage development. So this is essentially, as the great quote from the Mahatma symbolizes much of the purpose of this series in various formats, webinars, presentations, etc. Okay then, so what is digital marketing? Um, there's a definition below in bold. That is marketing products via digital channels. It seems kind of simple, and in honesty it is, and I'm going to say why it's simple. Traditional marketing does have several bases, such as the marketing concept. This is more or less, people who've studied marketing in an academic sense, whether certificate or first degree or MBA or doctorate level or terminal degree level, would know that the marketing concept is about making goods and services that suit consumer needs, and you try and anticipate and identify consumer needs before making products. This ensures that there's a mutual value between the organization in terms of the longevity of sales and revenues and profits, and the consumer obviously to buy good products that bring them utility. And then as part of traditional marketing, would still exist and still would exist in the future, I'd imagine, would be marketing research, so things like surveys, segmentation, targeting, positioning. These would be things such as identifying what a target market is, what a related group of consumers are who would buy product. Services marketing. So a service is an intangible product, like an airline trip or plane trip or train trip or cinema. So you have to focus in services marketing more on the experience, the intangible experience, more so than the nuts and bolts relative to say vis-a-vis a car or a pint of milk or a loaf of bread, for example. Then the marketing mix, you would have your 7Ps: product, place, promotion, physical evidence, price, people, and processes. These are all the inputs you would use to identify a product, and of course your marketing strategy. So in all, well, the marketing strategy of it will be overarching, which would how you would itemize all your marketing inputs to produce value. None of this hasn't really changed, and there's no reason why it should change. Though there are some key distinctions between traditional and digital marketing. By traditional marketing, by the way, I mean advertising via hoardings or newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, old style sales promotions, basically marketing as it has been before the advent of, shall we say, the internet, or at least advent of modern digital over the past 5, maybe 10 years. So traditional marketing was and is harder to define effectiveness. If you have an advertising campaign in, say, the traditional media, it's difficult to determine a direct or causal link between your advertising budgets and your sales. Of course, there'll be some correlation, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly. Digital makes it easier to pinpoint exactly. So you would know how many people visit your website, how many followers or likes you would have, what your ROI is on your spending, how many email subscribers you have. There are specific metrics that we would use, obviously based from recording via many applications that are available on the web. It will provide a far more specific note of the effectiveness of your digital strategies. Traditional was/is largely push, whilst digital is more balanced with more scope for pull. Okay, what I mean by push and pull is that push means that you present information to a target market, yet the target market or the customers do not necessarily provide information back. However, digital is more balanced in that people can send you social media messages. They can comment on your email list. They can send you an email from your website. And you get information a lot more from, shall we say, the horse's mouth. There's nothing more genuine vis-a-vis a product than the actual customers who buy the product. Traditional has less consumer engagement and digital has more consumer engagement. Well, I've described that just now actually as, again, straight from the horse's mouth. There is more scope to pique the interest of consumers due to the real-time and more personal nature of digital marketing. Traditional is more costly and digital costs less, and perhaps is more beneficial for SMEs, as small medium enterprises. Well, digital apps don't cost that much in the grand scheme, even for an SME. Having a Facebook account and a Twitter account, or any of the major social media, Instagram, YouTube, are free. And if you opt to have social media management tools, which I think are beneficial, then they don't cost much in the grand scheme, perhaps say $20 per year, which even in Trinidad dollars and Tobago dollars is not that much, even for an SME. So traditional obviously is far more costly. Advertising campaigns cost a lot. Sales promotions cost a lot to execute. So traditional, therefore, it can be said, has far more ROI involved. Moreover, the need for segmentation positioning hasn't really changed. You still need to identify your target markets, who your ideals or specific customers are. Take, for example, a gym. Well, that's obvious. Your target market or your customers will be people looking to improve their fitness, to sustain their fitness. So it's just identifying which digital tools you would need, which would best suit your customers' needs. Products still need branding. Well, of course, you'll still need to have logos and trademarks. You'll still need to have marketing research, whether internally or on your market or market research. So you would still need to identify what your customers want, what they would want in specific areas, what they would want in the type of products, or how the products are delivered, or their expectations or experiences with the product. You'll still need to analyze your environment. So you'll still need to note legislation from the government vis-a-vis, well, internet use, social changes. Is society becoming far more open to technology? And legality. This could be more specific to regulations or treaties that the government would sign with other countries or international bodies. And consumers are still human. You still have to make it worth their while to buy. You still have to treat them in a special way. This is enabled via good content. You may hear a common phrase in the digital sphere called "content is king." This is true, I believe, because good content, especially in a digital medium or via digital marketing, is the elemental basis of how you would convey your value. You would have to have a good website. You have to have a good social media strategy. You'd have to have a good, well, if you have white papers or brochures or sales information, these have to be top notch to convey your value and to promote sales. So really, only the tools have changed. The basic theory hasn't, and it's hard to imagine it will in the near future. So really, digital is traditional marketing, but in a new paradigm via the internet, essentially. So why is digital starting to usurp traditional? Well, less people actually are watching television or consuming traditional media. Whether this is true in Trinidad and Tobago or the Caribbean, it possibly is, but certainly in the United States and in Europe, I think more people are getting their news from online, whether, I suppose, Yahoo or Twitter or Facebook. And of course, the major news networks now have very comprehensive websites: BBC, CNN, etc., Al Jazeera, etc. More people are becoming online. Of course, internet penetration rates are growing all the time around the world, so it stands to reason then that there would be more scope for digital. And I touched on this before, but there is better return on investment on digital vis-a-vis traditional. There are also social changes. Consumers are better educated than ever before. They're keener. So in that context, we can see why digital has or is starting to usurp traditional, in that it lends to better engagement and better connection between the organization and the consumer. So then, what are the arms of digital marketing? Well, there's 7 here that are listed. Social media. This is more akin to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the networks that we all would subscribe to and know. Websites, well, that's self-explanatory. Email is via listings. So you would have, some of you may know it already, you would have a subscriber list in which you can subscribe and you would get itemized content sent to you on a regular basis, whether once a day or once a week or a few times a week, or even monthly or quarterly, specifying an organization's products and their value offerings. So again, this is similar to social media in that it would facilitate engagement and interest and connection and relationships. Search engine optimization, or SEO. This specifies how you would ensure that your website reaches the top of the Google rankings. So Google searches obviously can go on for literally millions, and no one really has the time to search all of that. So you want your site to be optimized on Google, so it reaches at least the top page or top of the page, or the top 2 search page results. Pay-per-click is a way of gaining buy-in to your website. I mean that metaphorically and literally, in that you would pay customers to come to your website, in a means to obviously promote your website's offering and your organization's offerings. Mobile, well, we all know mobile apps on Android, iOS, BlackBerry for people who still possess BlackBerry phones, also Windows Phone. So these are condensed forms, not just of websites, but also dedicated apps, which often provide an additional functionality more so than, say, a website designed for a PC or a laptop. And content management. This is the entire process of how you manage your organization's content to provide value. Content meaning websites, web copy, brochures, white papers, anything that you produce electronically, which your customers can read and is about your organization essentially. So then, social media is a two-way communication. It builds communities, share information, relate queries, concerns, and feedback. It enables good connections and engagement with consumers. Engagement is important because traditional marketing doesn't really allow for this in the same manner. This is so because, as stated, traditional marketing is more push, whilst you can send messages to a company on your Twitter account or your Facebook account, or you can send them an email and receive a ready response, in many cases a real-time, almost instantaneous response. That can't be afforded if you see an advert on your in a newspaper or on TV. And we see here what the verb engage is. I'm just trying to reference how engagement can arise in digital marketing. So to engage then, from the Cambridge Online Dictionary, is to interest someone in something and keep them thinking about it, which is elemental if you're marketing any good or service, whether via traditional or digital. In this context, you have to ensure that if people are interested, then they will talk about your product to others, they would recommend it, they would be more likely to buy from you and be a long-term customer. So that links therefore to mutual value between the consumer and the individual. So engagement really is central to social media and digital. You have to keep people interested, keep them excited, keep them eager. If so, then they are far more likely to connect with you and buy your products essentially. It's also about building a community. If you build relationships with anybody and sustain that relationship, you have to keep them interested, you have to treat them well, you have to treat them human in essence. This is all what engagement is, and that really is the key, as stated, to good digital marketing. So why is digital starting to usurp traditional? Well, less people actually are watching television or consuming traditional media. Whether this is true in Trinidad and Tobago or the Caribbean, it possibly is, but certainly in the United States and in Europe, I think more people are getting their news from online, whether I suppose Yahoo or Twitter. So there are much benefits that can be afforded from social media, email lists, and a functional website. You can have far better feedback than probably has ever been available prior. Literally instantaneous in many cases between yourself as an organization or between your customers. That also leaves a better scope for compliments and complaints and public relations matters. If you want to convey topics on a more sensitive nature, or you want to forestall panic or alarm, or you even want to praise consumers, you can do so via rapid social media or via a regular email list or via a website. People would receive it far quicker than they would with traditional media. There's also the scope for better market intelligence. You may be able to have better scope in understanding what your consumers want, and not just of your product but of your competitors, and also those of firms in other countries and other regions who may be in the same or even disparate industries. So it also leads, as stated, to information from the horse's mouth. You would receive, by and large, on social media, genuine and heartfelt responses and views from your customers. It is because of the more personal relationship and, again, engagement between consumers and the organization, which is afforded by these by this new medium.